Hi, everybody. Good Friday evening to you. Welcome to the broadcast. It's Region Weather Meteorologist Matt Wintz with a look at what's happening with the severe weather out in the Plain States. We've got an update for you tonight. I've been combing over everything over the last half hour or so, trying to figure out what these storms are going to do as they enter northwest Indiana. We know what they're doing right now. I'll take you through that. And then I'll tell you what, this is going to be just a really active pattern because we get into strong wind after that, and we get into strong wind before these storms move in tonight over the next couple hours. So really active pattern around here. And then if you haven't heard, the Storm Prediction Center earlier this afternoon went ahead and went with a level 5 out of 5 risk for areas of Alabama and Mississippi tomorrow. They are under the coveted rare high risk for widespread tornadoes. In fact, some of the analogs pulling some of the data for tomorrow are reminiscent of some of the biggest tornado outbreaks that have occurred, at least in the United States history, since, we've been keeping records of this stuff. So pretty nasty weather expected across portions of the Deep South tomorrow. But our focus today is on the Plain States and what's coming at us from areas of Illinois right now. So let's dive into the maps. Free broadcast for our sponsors. Again, guys, if you need anything here in Northwest Indiana, these are all local sponsors. FBI Buildings does pole barn construction, commercial, residential. It's FBIbuildings.com. Meals on Wheels, you guys are all familiar with them. Great organization that delivers meals to people that need it. It's MOWNWI.org for Meals on Wheels, NorthwestIndiana.org. If you're in need of a meal or you know someone that is, maybe Monday through Friday throughout the week. PSA, that's publicserviceadjusting.com. If you have an insurance claim, go to them first, not your insurance agency. They will come take pictures and be the go-between between you and your insurance agency. You don't have to do anything, and they'll get you more money. Publicserviceadjusting.com. TigerPlumbing.net for all your plumbing needs. Minogue.life if you need anything related to Medicare, Medicaid, life insurance. Michael's an expert in that world. He'll go through your plan for free. Maybe you're paying too much in the life insurance. Maybe you don't have, you don't know what kind of benefits you have. He'll go through it. Minogue.life is the website. Kate Cusack, Ruoff Mortgage. She's our home lender here in Northwest Indiana. She'll find you your new home, your dream home, and she will get you ready to go when that house hits the market, which that market's taken off. So make sure you connect with her. She's awesome. She did a live shot with us during a winter storm a couple of weeks ago. Kate Cusack, Home Loan Girl on Facebook. And then finally, last but not least, Grieger's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Valparaiso. They've got brand new Jeeps ready to go. The Wagoneer is a really good looking vehicle, and they've got a bunch of those on the lot. Grieger's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Valparaiso. All right, let's get to the forecast. Here's the system that we're dealing with right now. You see this powerful area of low pressure that went through California just a mere 48 hours ago, produced a tornado down towards LA. This system ejected into the Rockies today. We saw the swirl and the energy coming out of the Rockies. The dry line interacted with that warmth and humidity, and boom, we saw those explosive thunderstorms. And you see this low pressure. It's a deep one. This is winding up like a top now with the center of that low pressure now over Iowa, with the explosive thunderstorms on the leading edge of that heading through Missouri, now crossing into Illinois as we're expecting. I want to throw a little nugget in here. This is just crazy. This is just what we need with this storm system. This is visible satellite earlier. Look down here in Texas and Oklahoma and Kansas. You see it here at the beginning. See how it's kind of brown there? That was a big dust storm that got kicked up as the winds came across areas of New Mexico and the desert. And that dust, this was an incredible dust storm. That dust storm went through Texas and Oklahoma, and that dust is interacting with these storms. What does that mean? Well, it sounds like the apocalypse. It's not. But there's going to be dust particles in the rain that comes through here later tonight. And so we may have a muddy rain tonight. And I know that sounds crazy. And again, I don't want to blow it out of proportion. But if you leave your car outside tonight, we're going to get the rain. We're going to have the wind around. But you may have a lot of leftover kind of, when you have the water droplet and you have the little dirt around it, you're going to have a little dirt on your car tomorrow morning, more than likely, from this dust as it gets carried up into these thunderstorms, some 40 to 50,000 feet in the atmosphere. Just incredible. And then it'll rain out with some of those dust particles in the raindrops. So don't be surprised if you have to maybe do the car wash on Sunday or Monday due to the rain that's falling. It's not acid rain. It's just muddy rain at that. And I know it sounds a lot worse than it is, but it's kind of neat scientifically. But I wanted to throw that nugget in here before I forgot, because there was an incredible dust storm today with that wind as it came into this system. All right. So here's the radar right now. This is what we're dealing with. Again, area of low pressure up towards Iowa. We have those thunderstorms with a tremendous lift and a real strong jet coming into this, howling on the order of 120 to 130 miles per hour up at jet stream level. That, in combination with the surface winds, which are already strong, in combination with the fact that the system in this line is moving pretty quickly. We're talking 50 to 60 off towards the north and the east. All those things are high speed, and so it doesn't take much to produce wind damage with even little showers that you see within this. So this thing is cranking some wind, and some of these little tiny thunderstorms outside of the bigger tornado warned storms are producing wind gusts 60, 70 miles per hour at severe levels. And so that's why the National Weather Service went ahead and issued a severe thunderstorm watch for northern and areas of eastern Illinois, just off towards our west. That's why there's a severe thunderstorm watch there. They have about the same threat of us as us for tornadoes. We talked about this last night. We talked about the night before that I wasn't overly impressed with our chance for tornadoes here tonight. It's not a zero chance, and there is a possibility for it. But I'm more concerned about the damaging winds. I've been saying that all week long, and I continue to think that because of all these factors in the storm system. So that severe thunderstorm watch is out because the threat is there for damaging winds with these thunderstorms. And again, that's for areas of eastern Illinois. We are not under anything yet here in northwest Indiana. However, Benton County down to our south and areas downstate are under a brand new tornado watch as of, I want to say, last half hour, 40 minutes or so that got issued. And that's because the tornado threat's a little bit higher down towards the south. It's not off the charts, but there's a little bit more moisture to work with this system. All right. So we've got storms breaking out now, crossing the state line. St. Louis is gearing up for a tornado warned storm just down to the southwest. They've got maybe another 20 minutes or so on that one. And then you can see more storms firing down into Arkansas. The leading edge, the top edge of this back towards Iowa, real gusty showers, as I mentioned. But we're not seeing a ton of severe out of that outside of those severe thunderstorm warnings with the real strong winds. All right. Haven't seen a lot of tornadoes out of that leading kind of top edge of this here. And then as it curls around, we're dealing with heavy snow and wind on the backside. Just incredible. But for us, a couple of things of concern. I do want to I'll pull up the watches and warnings here. Then we'll do a little analysis on where this is going. But you can see here's our brand new tornado watch just down to our south. Here's our severe thunderstorm watch, that yellow box you see there just off towards the west. And then you can see all of these things that are lighting up there. That's kind of the history of the severe thunderstorm warnings in the yellow and your tornado warnings in the red. And you can see there's been an uptick over the last half hour to 45 minutes in the tornado warnings with these storms heading into St. Louis. In fact, there have been multiple tornadoes on the ground with debris ball signatures within these as well. So dangerous storms down there. I mean, living here in northwest Indiana, what we tend to do is track things out because we're usually seeing storms and inheriting storms that are moving in. And so if you do track these tornado warned storms out, I mean, they head through southern Illinois and they'll get into our southern counties like Benton County, maybe Newton and Jasper County. But that's not how this works, all right? Their atmosphere, as I mentioned earlier today, is structured just a bit differently down towards St. Louis than it is here. Even areas of southern and central Illinois have an atmosphere that's structured differently than ours. And what do I mean by that? We don't have the instability that they have. The instability is not off the charts with this, but our instability is not quite there yet. And the other thing is they've got higher dew point air. There's this stream or this little sliver of higher dew point air that exists right out ahead of this line that is enabling this line to produce the severe weather and the rooted thunderstorms to the surface and also the tornadoes within it, right? That higher dew point air is not here. We are bone dry. In fact, they just did a weather balloon launch not too long ago out of the Davenport office in Iowa, and it's amazing. They were considering or comparing this air mass that we have, because remember, it's a big sandwich. The atmosphere is. It's not just what's happening here at the surface. It matters what's happening up above us. And they were comparing the air mass up above us to something that's out in the desert Southwest. It is bone dry right now, not just here at the surface. That's why we had the high fire danger today. That's why we still have a high fire danger right now. And we'll have another high fire danger tomorrow. What I mean by fire danger is fire can spread rapidly because we've got very low humidity and very low relative humidity as well in combination with strong winds. And that's not really the environment that you typically expect out ahead of severe weather. If you were to take a weather balloon sounding here locally in northwest Indiana and send it up, you'd say, there's not severe weather coming. There's not even rain coming. This is really a very unique setup in that there's a very small window that's kind of moving with these storms that can produce severe weather. If that window goes away or that little sliver of warm, humid air, goes away, then these storms just fade, kind of like a hurricane would when it hits land. So really kind of a unique meteorological system that I'm looking at here. It's not something I've seen in my 16 years experience, of forecasting storms and dealing with severe weather. Even, being down south, forecasting all the tornadoes when I had my stay at NBC down there. So really interesting how things are evolving right now, and it is kind of a weird look. But a couple things that we need to note. So this line's going to continue to progress north and eastward. In terms of timing of this, I still have it arriving in northwest Indiana after midnight. All right, so this is going to be a late one. It may not move out completely till like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. So there's that. And in terms of kind of what's going on with this line, out ahead of it, there's an area of very strong winds because this dry air is playing a role at bringing down some of the strong jet stream wind up above us. So there's an area about an hour or two out in advance of it. So we'll get into this, gosh, probably like 11 o'clock, midnight-ish. I think our wind is really going to start to ramp up here. And it's not thunderstorm wind, it's just system wind. And we may have gusts 45, 55 miles per hour as that wind really ramps up just out ahead of this line. So we mentioned this again on the broadcast last night. Things you can do right now. If you've got anything loose in your yard, maybe the kid, like us, I mean, our kids were out playing all day and they just left the yard a mess. If the kids have stuff that they took outside today, maybe it's recycle day tomorrow or something, or you haven't had trash day in a while and you've got a lot of cardboard boxes outside. All of those things that can blow around, deck furniture, all that stuff, put it in the garage, put it somewhere where it's not going to blow in your neighbor's yard. That's something you can do right now. I mean, we're well out ahead of the storms, but that wind is really going to ramp up over the next couple hours out ahead of these storms. And then let's talk storms. When these storms move through, let's talk about what they're going to look like. We'll give you some of the modeling here, and we'll talk about what to expect in terms of these thunderstorms when they move through the region. So again, this is modeling. All right. These are the models. This is what we comb through and decide what we like and what we don't from experience of meteorological forecasting. A lot of these weather sites that you see either online or, well, mainly online nowadays, a lot of these weather sites you see they just show you the model and they don't know how to analyze it and all that stuff, and that's fine. But you need to keep in mind, this is not truth, okay? This is just one solution that could happen, and they change, especially the HERS. We get updates every hour. The NAM, which I tend to favor sometimes, the NAM NEST with severe weather events, they're updating all the time, all right? So it's not truth. So that doesn't mean wherever the storm is at a certain time, that's where it's actually going to be. What I look at is trend for this, all right? So the trend is that these storms right now are going to continue to fire, and we're likely going to have multiple tornado warnings in Illinois, all right? And that's the other thing I talked about earlier. We talked about this last night. You're going to go to bed 11 o'clock midnight tonight. You're going to look on your phone and you're going to see multiple tornado warnings in Illinois, and you're going to say, oh, shoot, I can't go to bed. There are a ton of tornadoes coming, right? Remember, they are structured differently than us. It doesn't mean we're not going to squeak out a tornado chance tonight, all right? Especially further south you are, but it is not a guarantee at all, and our tornado risk is low compared to that tornado risk in south central Illinois right now, okay? So different atmosphere there, different here. These storms, I'm still expecting to have a weakening trend as they move in. However, everything we've talked about and everything we forecasted this week continues to point to the fact that damaging winds are going to be the primary threat. It's not going to take much with even a shower. If, let's say, the worst part of the line is south of you, and let's say we're in Lake County and we just get a little yellow portion on the radar, indicating just a burst of some heavier rain, even that could produce some damaging winds on the order of 55, 65, maybe 70 miles per hour, okay? So that is continued to be the primary threat. I want you to plan for damaging winds tonight. If it doesn't happen where you live, that's great, all right? It doesn't mean the storm was a bust. It just means the potential that we had over you did not happen over you, and that's okay. We'll take that, all right? So that's what we're going to plan for tonight is damaging winds. So again, anything loose in your yard, anything you need to do, if you still have your holiday decorations up, I don't know what you've got floating around your yard, but just make sure you take care of that before you go to bed tonight, okay? All right, so that's kind of what we look like in terms of impacts. Now, in terms of the modeling, notice how we still have a decent line moving in. All right, this is 1 a.m. now. This is 2, 3, 4. All right, that's your timing of it. The good news and what I like in the HER model is the fact that we have supercells now, okay, capable of producing tornadoes in Illinois. That will continue to be the case. but we kind of lose the supercell structure, and it becomes more, we get kind of this overrunning rain on top of everything. So you get these storms that develop, and then they go way up in the atmosphere, and they get kind of sheared apart, and you get this big rain shield on the northern end of things. That is what the HRRR is showing me right now, that we would have damaging wind threat even in these downpours, but the severe stuff with the tornado threat would be just south, and we would just get a general rain around here. Excuse me, I'm going to get a drink of water. My voice after about 10 minutes of doing stuff, if I'm just constant without a breath of air, and I experience this during tornado coverage, it just goes, and then I just like things keeps dripping on my, it's crazy. I got to learn how to breathe properly, apparently. But anyway, this would be good news for us in our severe weather chance tonight. Again, damaging winds would be a threat with this, especially with any individual cells, but that tornado threat would be kept down to the south. Again, this is the HRRR, and notice it's in and out of here quickly, all right? Once it's out of here, we're talking dry skies and probably sunshine to start tomorrow before clouds fill back in with some rain chances. The big thing tomorrow is it's going to be super windy, all right? This system is still wrapping up. Deep area of low pressure will be in the dry slot of this system, which tends to produce some good wind. I think we'll get well up into the 60s, near 70 tomorrow, but winds, especially tomorrow morning and midday, I could see them gusting 55, 60 miles per hour. So this thing is a wind maker, all right, if you haven't gathered that already. And again, we had a post a couple days ago about that wind potential this weekend, and our forecast hasn't changed, all right? So whatever you saw on Wednesday that we posted continues to be the case for tomorrow with those strong winds. So dry tomorrow. Here's all the activity coming off of the big severe weather event down towards the south. We'll get a ton of rain off of that moving into Indiana and Ohio. This could pose a flood threat out towards the east. For us, though, the big question is how far west does the rain get? We may get clipped by some rain showers in the area, kind of off of those thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. All right, and that would last through early morning hours Sunday, and then we're fine. I won't tell you what this is, but there is a little mix of maybe some rain and snow on Sunday. It would be very brief, if anything, okay? So that's kind of the run through with that. Let me show you NAM-NEST. This is the other model that I tend to favor when it comes to severe weather. Notice how it has these severe storms heading through central Illinois, likely tornado warnings with that. The NAM-NEST is just a tad slower, so it brings them in around 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can see the weakening trend as they move through, but there still are some embedded storms in here on the NAM-NEST that would be capable of higher end damaging winds, and there would be a low tornado threat with that as well, all right? What I have to see for that to happen is these dew points, and I'll show you this here. I need these dew points to come up, all right? Right now, the NAM-NEST is a little too moisture laden in our area. Our dew points are a little bit lower, and then you can see this like little area of higher dew point air. Preferably for severe weather, we would need 60s, but we can do it with 50s, especially with the amount of shear we have. But notice how that little sliver comes in here right there. See that? How the dew points come up. So that brings us some humidity, that brings us more favorable environment, but a brief window of it, like 1 or 2 hours, that's it. And then we're back to the drier air. And notice how it all kind of hangs out south of us tomorrow. Let me go back to the HRRR and show you. The HRRR has a better representation of our dew points now, which are in the 40s. That's some dry air. Here's that sliver of humidity out ahead of that line. And notice how it doesn't really bring it in here until right there. See that little tiny sliver of moisture that comes in here, where we go from kind of dry, not feeling like we're going to have severe weather, to all of a sudden, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, you're going to say, oh, it's a little bit humid outside. It actually feels like we could have severe weather. So that's kind of what we're working at right now in terms of the dew point. I need that dew point to come up, and it's not a guarantee that that sliver arrives before the storms arrive, all right? If it does, then our severe weather chance would be a lot higher, and our tornado threat would be there as well. But I continue to think damaging winds are primary threat here tonight, okay? So that's what I've got in terms of all of that. Let me get down to, I'm going to share another source with you real quick, if that's okay. So just give me a minute here. And by a minute, I mean I've gotten so fast at this that you won't even notice something's missing. Boom. How about that? All right, let's talk what the storms are doing right now. I'm just going to quickly go through this, and then, as always, what we do on our Region Weather Lives is you can ask any question you want, and I'll try to answer all the questions that we get, okay? I know a lot of you have been waiting for this update, and I did promise you an update tonight. Now, in terms of overnight coverage, I am going to keep my eye on it. But I just want you guys to know that I do the morning show, all right, on the news, and I've been up since 2 o'clock in the morning, all right. So I am really tired. My bedtime's at like 7:30, 8 o'clock, and we're getting beyond that now. So I'm usually just shot on Fridays after a long week of not a lot of sleep. So I am probably not going to stay up until 2 o'clock and track these storms through. All right. I hate to break that to you. If it was 11 o'clock or midnight, I could probably do it with some coffee. But we're talking 24 hours of me being awake. That is not good for me to keep you safe. Okay. So I'm going to give you this update. I do want you guys, I want you guys to have a way to get warnings and have a way to wake up if there's a warning. But I also don't want anyone freaking out tonight. All right. This is not a high end event for us locally. It is down towards the south and the west. This is just one of those that we want to make sure we're paying attention tonight, all right, and make sure there's a way to get warnings if it happens. Hopefully you wake up tomorrow morning and there wasn't anything. You don't have any warnings on your phone or anything like that, all right? So just know that. This isn't something that we need to, oh, this is just going to be a crazy event, especially with our dew points right now and especially with our environment up above us. The damaging wind threat is there, yes, but the tornado threat, it's not off the charts, okay? And I know that's the thing that scares everybody, and I give it to you straight, all right? We're not going to hype it up. I'm not overly impressed with it, but we do need to keep an eye on it this evening, okay? Our threat is not zero, and if it was zero, then I'd tell you that, but it's not. All right, so here are the storms right now. You can see how there is a decent thunderstorm with a tornado warning near Macomb. This is in western areas of Illinois. Here's St. Louis now. St. Louis with a tornado warning north and west of town. These are all supercells. You can see how they've all got kind of round structures. If you keep your eye on each individual one as it's moving, they're all rotating, all right? And the atmosphere is supporting that with the amount of shear that we have. We have an incredible amount of wind shear and speed shear with this, not just directional, but speed. And so we talked about those yesterday on the broadcast, but basically at the surface, and this goes for Northwest Indiana too, at the surface where we are, the wind is coming from one direction, all right? However, we go up into the clouds and higher in the sky, and that wind most of the time is coming from the same direction with a little churning, all right? But, if it's coming from the southeast, usually up in the clouds, it's coming from the southeast, and there's no problem. The problem when you have high shear days like this is that is not the case. It is not the same all the way up. You have a southeast wind here at the surface, and it turns westerly as you go up. And so if you have a west wind up above you, and you have a southeast wind at the surface, that air has to twist somehow because it's all flowing, right? It can't just cut off in a line. So it has to kind of connect that line between southeast and west. And so as you draw that arrow or connect that line going up, notice your hand is twisting as you do that, all right? So that as the storm builds up into it, it causes those storm clouds to move this way and then they move this way, and that creates that twisting motion. The other shear factor that we have that's pretty high with these storms as well, and the environment out ahead of it, is speed shear. And so that's when you have wind at the ground that is a different speed than it is up above you. And so here at the ground, wind it's pretty gusty. It's 25 to 45 miles per hour. But as you go up into the clouds, we already talked about it. I mean, we've got 55, 65, 75, even up to 100 mile per hour winds up high in the atmosphere. And as a result, you get slower wind here at the surface going like this. You get fast wind up above. And so all that air kind of piles up and kind of curls over, if that makes sense. And so you get a rolling effect to the atmosphere. So that rolling effect combined with the twisting effect as it goes up, it just doesn't sound good, right? And it's not. And that's what's causing these storms to rotate. Those two factors together come together to produce supercell thunderstorms. And so that's why all these storms are rotating out towards the west. It's not always a big deal. Storms rotate all the time, but when you have an environment like we have today, any of those rotating storms, when they're rooted down to the surface, can certainly produce tornadoes, and that's what we're seeing. So again, here's St. Louis radar right now. Here are the storms out towards the west. That's a nasty one, likely a tornado on the ground with that. This one right here, likely a tornado on the ground with that, and another one just south of there. So real nasty weather. This is the new one that developed over the last half hour or so that's heading towards northwest side of town, but pretty nasty weather heading towards St. Louis. Again, this will transpire and head into areas of Illinois. We'll likely see these tornado warnings that you see here, plenty of them. We'll likely see those continue as they head north and east, all right? So I would expect over the next couple hours that we would have tornado warnings probably in all this area here, heading up to Decatur and even Urbana, all right? and that would have eyes on Lafayette, and then Indianapolis as well would be under the gun here later on this evening. But the environment is much different as you get out towards the east, okay? It slowly becomes less and less favorable, all right? But these storms are moving so fast that I don't think they're going to care right at first, all right? They're still going to maintain their strong nature as they head north and east. And then look at all these severe thunderstorm warnings. I mean, these are just basic showers, but they're all producing really strong winds. This one has some rotation with it, but all these are producing strong winds. And we follow that line up into areas of Iowa, although it's less of a threat there, okay? So this is why I think we're going to have damaging wind potential tonight with these storms as they move through, because this whole entire line right now is warned, and I would imagine that continues to be the case throughout the evening, okay? So that's all I have for you. I'm going to go back to, since we don't have much to look at on radar here locally, let me go back to the loop of our forecast model here, and we'll go back to preset mode, and then we'll answer your questions. So if you guys have questions, just so you can kind of see the evolution. I know it looks kind of crazy. And let me get off the 18Z so that we can kind of slow down to the latest. So this is the 1Z model run that's coming in. I like the HRRR. I like this for us locally, guys. This just brings a shield of heavy rain and potentially damaging winds with it as it moves through. I mean, I know damaging winds doesn't sound great. This could be a lot worse. Not saying this is truth, but I like the HRRR runs with the big storms just to our south and the rain shield to the north. All right, I like the look of that. Not just from the fact that this would negate a tornado risk for us, but that's what storms tend to do. You tend to get these big storms that have that, everything that kind of blows up into the atmosphere, and you get the rain shield on the northern end of that. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and answer your questions for you. I'm going to start. We've got a lot of comments here tonight, so I'm going to start with this one. Get some sleep, Matt. All right, thanks. By the book. Good night, everybody. Okay, I'm going to answer a couple questions for you. All right, so good lightning show with this, Melanie. Yeah, there's good lightning with this for sure. I'll show you the flashes. This is something kind of cool we can look at. Let me take that off. That'll give you a headache if you look at that too long. Let's go into GOES-derived data, and we can look at some of the flashes here within the storm system. So can you see that? See all these little green blobs? That is all lightning within the storm system. So there's plenty of lightning with it. As it approaches our area, again, I don't think there'll be as much lightning. There will be lightning with it. It's not going to be quite as prolific as it is right now in southern areas of Illinois, but we are going to be dealing with some good lightning with some of these storms. The hail threat's pretty low with this. Damaging wind threat, again, is the elevated thing, and we have to watch for tornadoes as well. But this should be a pretty good lightning show as it moves in. All right, let's see. Jess, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, Sarah and Kareem. I appreciate that as well. What direction will the winds primarily be come with the way the storm system's moving? So Tim, you're asking what direction will the wind be coming from with the storm system moving in? So right now it's southeasterly turning south, and they're going to stay that way. We're going to stay with a south wind once this moves through, as that low pressure is still well off towards our west. So much of tomorrow we're going to have a south wind around here. Really strong wind tomorrow. I don't want to let our guard down on these non-thunderstorm winds. I know it's not sexy to talk about non-thunderstorm winds, right? We like the drama with the thunderstorm involved. But next couple hours, our wind's going to pick up out of the south even more so. And again, we could have gusts 40 to 50 in the next couple of hours. There's an area of wind, non-thunderstorm related, out ahead of this line. And then we'll have another pocket of wind that develops tomorrow morning into the midday hours, especially non-thunderstorm on Saturday. In fact, we're going to have sunshine for a while. And that pocket of winds could be on the order of, we could have gusts 50 to 60 with that. So pretty incredible winds with this system, with this deep area of low pressure and dry air mixing in from up above us, for sure. Let's see. Thank you. I know, Jessica, I got that. I see some funny comments. That's good. Yes, wind is the biggest threat from this. Krista, yeah, tornado threat is low with this. Now, I don't want that to be a reason to let our guard down, okay? It just takes one, all right? If we just had one tornado in Indiana through your backyard, that's a big deal. Okay, I want to make sure you have a way to stay alert, have a way for warnings to wake you up, and weather radio, or almost all the apps have it nowadays. You can sign up through the National Weather Service as well for location-based alerts. There are lots of ways to do that. I know all of you probably have different weather apps. Some of the local news stations have weather apps as well that you can do location-based. But keep your sound up on your phone and make sure your phone's charged tonight, all right? But yeah, tornado threat is low. It's not zero. So again, if it's not zero, we never let our guard down on it. But I see this as being more of a damaging wind threat for sure. Ashley asks, what would be a safe time to sleep? Ashley, you can go to bed now. You really can. This thing again is still multiple hours out. It's just now getting into Illinois, so it's going to take some time getting here. It is moving pretty quickly, but it's going to take its time getting here. I still think after midnight, 1, 2, 3 o'clock, it's moving through and out. So there's that. Okay, so get to bed now. Aaron, yes, for sure. So the kids at Purdue West in Lafayette should be on alert for these storms. They have a higher threat down there for the tornado activity. Doesn't mean they're going to get tornadoes, but their atmosphere will support that a little better than ours. So yeah, they need to be on alert for this. I'm sure, if the kids at school, I'm sure they're staying up late on a Friday night. So just make sure that your child has a way to get warnings on their phone. I know that's kind of a corny parent thing to ask, but just make sure that they're in tune with the weather tonight. Okay. Kathy said, is there a reason why the winds died down this afternoon? Yeah, Kathy. So the winds are in the ramp up phase. There were pockets of stronger winds this afternoon, but we were just going with a breezy day today, weather-wise. We weren't supposed to have real strong winds today. It's really over the next couple of hours that they ramp up, and then they stay ramped up through your Saturday morning into midday. So that's the window of time with the strong winds. There's a wind advisory out. Again, that's for the wind over the next couple hours. There's a high wind watch and warning depending on where you are out for tomorrow with those strong winds as well. So the winds, they come and go. It just depends on, this morning we had high pressure out towards our east, so that's interacting with the low pressure out towards the west, and they're not consistent across the board. You get pockets where the wind isn't strong until it really becomes focused on that low, which it will over the next couple hours. Good question, though. I know it does do that. Yeah, Savannah, that's a great question as well. In terms of tornado watch or severe thunderstorm watch getting issued, I would imagine, and again, I've worked with multiple weather services. Chicago is one of the best weather services out of Romeoville that I've worked with in the entire country. And Birmingham, Alabama is another great one. But anyway, in terms of what I expect them to do, I would expect them to issue, they could go nothing. I don't think they will. Typically what they would do is probably a Lake, Newton, Porter, and Jasper counties. LaPorte would be for northern Indiana, but they would probably issue severe thunderstorm watch for those counties. But what National Weather Service in Chicago likes to do is they like to wait to see how it's performing as it's moving into the western areas of Chicago. So once this thing gets to Rockford, I would imagine they would think about issuing something for Northwest Indiana or not. They'll probably wait to see how these storms hold together. But I would imagine, again, I've worked with them a lot, and I kind of get in their mind sometime, and they, just kind of what they're thinking. And I would imagine they would do a severe thunderstorm watch. All right. So it doesn't mean we can't have a tornado with that, though. Okay. So again, I just don't want us to let our guard down. Joe, they are, but the problem is these things are moving in really fast. So he asks, are the storms going to weaken when they hit Northwest Indiana? Yeah, the problem is that they're moving pretty quickly. And so, that weakening trend will start, but do they get here before they weaken? That's the big question. But if we can continue to kind of develop the south end of this line, which is down towards St. Louis, if we can continue to develop that, then, a lot of the attention would go down there atmospherically. And so we would weaken what's on the north end of that. I've seen that happen before, and that's kind of what I'm expecting. But like I said earlier in the broadcast, even the weakest showers with this are producing damaging winds. That's why there's severe thunderstorm warnings all the way up to Iowa, because even little tiny showers that are producing a quick downpour have really strong winds because they're bringing it down from the strong jet stream level. There's really strong wind up above us, and these showers, as they rain down, are bringing some of that strong wind down with it. So that's why I think the damaging wind threat, despite the fact that these things weaken, is still going to be elevated tonight for us, okay? Ann asks a great question. Does it matter as far as damage or severity if there's a tornado or damaging winds? There's really not. It's just one is scarier to talk about, and one of them is not so much fun to talk about. People tend to think, severe thunderstorm warning, that's not too bad. Severe thunderstorm warnings can produce more damage than tornadoes sometimes, more than a weak tornado. So that's why, again, just take the precautions now to get the stuff that's going to, blow around in your yard or, on your deck, on your porch, whatever it happens to be. Just Take care of that right now, okay? Hopefully nothing happens tonight, but if you get 60, 70 mile per hour winds in your community, and you're going to have kind of a mess to deal with tomorrow morning. So we just don't want that, okay? DK, you're absolutely welcome, for sure. Yep. You guys stay safe tonight. Karen, yeah, here's the problem. She asked, will my dog be able to sleep through this? Yeah, that's the problem, is that there's going to be some thunder and lightning with this. I don't think it's going to be a crazy lightning storm like we're seeing down towards the south with some really frequent lightning, but we are going to get some pretty good lightning out of this, especially if they hold together. If the worst storm stayed down to our south, we would get like occasional lightning in that wet rain shield as it moves through. But if we get pockets of kind of red that are moving in, those would contain some good lightning with them. So I'm expecting lightning either way. There's that. So I know dogs don't like the thunder part. So there's that. Well, that's interesting. Mike says the Weather Channel is saying temp for Valpo will be around 59 when the storm comes through. Mike, I don't agree with that. I don't think we'll be at 59 when the storm comes through. I think when the storm hits and that rain hits, that rain will cool the air. I don't know if we'll drop to 59. We might. Again, that's an app telling you that. And that app is all just model based. So that's taking the model data, maybe the HRRR, maybe the NamNest, I'm not sure. It's taking that and just spitting out the data input. There's no one behind it typing in numbers on apps. It'd just be too much work. So no, I don't think that's the case. If we do get some outflow on it, that could cool us down briefly just before. Whenever we have outflow boundaries, it already means the storm's weakening. So we'll just have to wait and see. But I don't agree with 59 when the storm moves in. Again, that's me versus a model, so that's tough to see. There's that. There you go. Very good. Let's see. I'm trying to get through this. Grace, Lake of Four Seasons. Lakes of Four Seasons. We're going to be dealing with same thing as everyone else, where we're timing this out after midnight. Damaging winds are the primary threat for you. Okay. Ashley, I mean, that's interesting. Yeah, I would say it just depends on the storm that's lining up with you. So if you get the warning and you read it and it's got your town in there, you always want to read the warning and see what's going on with the wind. The Weather Service a couple years ago, I believe, actually sat in on discussions for changing this, but they now have impact-based warnings. So it'll say winds up to this, expect this. So that's when you want to look at. Winds of 50 to 60. We can usually handle. If you've got a lot of trees around you, just head downstairs. I mean, what's it matter? Problem is, though, if any of you are like me, I mean, we've got 4 kids, and to wake them all up and bring them downstairs, not only is kind of scary in the middle of the night, but that's a lot of work, and it disrupts everyone's sleep. So just keep an eye on the warning that gets issued for you. And look at you actually read the text for it, like scroll down and read the text that they issue with that. That'll tell you how strong the winds are within whatever storm that is. But I'm going to leave that up to the parents, and Ashley, I'll leave that up to you wherever you feel safer. But I don't think it's a bad idea. I mean, better safe than sorry is kind of where I go with that. Jason, that's a good question. So I think it's got the potential for that. Especially tomorrow. I mean, Jason, tomorrow, these storms are going to be just rocking down in Alabama and Mississippi. Again, I forecasted down in western Georgia, just outside of Atlanta for 3 years, and we had 62 tornadoes during my run down there. And I mean, there was a lot of activity. And, there are setups like this. This setup kind of reminds me of the really bad Tuscaloosa tornado, the F5 in Tuscaloosa, and that day back, I believe that was April. Years ago. I never remember years. I'm so bad at years, but I remember that day very clearly. And this setup kind of reminds me of that. And it's not, the storms tomorrow aren't from this low. It's from a new low that develops down to the south. But here locally, I don't think this is going to be a huge outbreak. I think down to St. Louis and Illinois, like, we've got to keep an eye on those storms. They're obviously producing tornadoes. I think they'll continue to do so this evening. But locally, I don't think this is going to be a huge outbreak. Let me show you down south, though, how this differs. Look at these storms tomorrow. I'm going to pause this, and we're going to go back to the 0Z. So they get storms tonight. Some of these could produce tornadoes tonight. And then this is tomorrow morning. I mean, they're waking up to a tornado threat in western Mississippi. And then watch this line. I mean, these are all supercells. Their atmosphere is so structured tomorrow to spin And it doesn't mean that they're going to have a huge outbreak. I've seen these things bust before where you get some prefrontal rain that just kind of messes everything up, or none of them, produce tornadoes. They're all just, it wouldn't be a cap tomorrow, but they all just don't produce tornadoes for some reason. Only a couple of them do. I've seen that, but tomorrow doesn't look like that. It really doesn't. I mean, look at these supercells going through Birmingham, Huntsville, eventually getting into Atlanta. I mean, this is going to be a nasty day across Mississippi and Alabama tomorrow. And even Tennessee, I think Tennessee's kind of overlooked on this. I think Nashville could get hit by some nasty weather tomorrow. I think they're overlooked because of all this. This would kind of stabilize it a little bit more than everyone else. But man, I mean, just nasty down there tomorrow for those locations. And we would watch the rain come off of that here in Northwest Indiana. That potential would be there for some of that rain. So we'll see. I mean, you see how this front goes by, we dry out. I mean, we're dealing with sunshine and real strong winds tomorrow, and then the clouds come back in later, and then this rain shield off of those severe thunderstorms comes through the state of Indiana. So that rain is going to be off the nasty activity down towards the south. All right. Karen, you're welcome. Yeah, absolutely. Great questions, everybody. David, no, you don't need to seek shelter in Porter County. There's nothing right now. Again, we're going to keep our eye on these storms tonight. The wind damage threat is there with these. Okay, that's what we've been preaching all along. So there's that. Ashley, yeah, you should be okay. If there's not a lot of trees around neighbor's yard, I think you guys would be just fine sleeping in bed tonight. I really do. Just again, make sure you have a way to get alerted if a severe thunderstorm warning is issued, or hopefully not, but if a tornado warning gets issued tonight. Okay. Kathy asks a good question. Do you think we'll get damaging hail with the rain, or mainly just wind? Kathy, I don't see a huge hail threat with these tonight. I think it'll be mainly wind, damaging wind with these. Great question. Yes, Cindy, thank you. 2011. Yeah, in Tuscaloosa. I was in Florida at the time on a business trip. And I remember, obviously I was watching wall-to-wall coverage with this, but I remember our flight out of Florida back to the region. We were living in Chicago at the time, and our flight back, we went over those storms, and they were, I mean, from the airplane, they were amazing. I mean, the towers went up above us, but I remember flying back through that and just I knew what was happening on the ground, and it was incredible to fly over that. So there's that. Kristen, in terms of Jasper County, same as everyone else. Everyone's really the same in terms of severe weather potential tonight. Again, we've got heavy rain that'll be moving in with that line, and there's going to be embedded cells within that that are producing wind damage. There's a low threat for tornadoes. It's not zero, but it's not high, so I'm not overly concerned with the tornado threat. I'm more concerned with damaging wind threat because these storms tonight are already producing wind damage out towards the west. Even the little showers are, and that's because we have a very fast jet stream up above us. So these little showers even are tapping into some of that wind and bringing it down to the surface. So there's that. Okay. Yeah, Ethan's on. Ethan says, cue the James Spann meme for the South. Yeah, I mean, they're going to be on it tomorrow. James will be on it as well. Dale asks, hey, Matt, question, would it ever be a derecho warning for future storms that may look like a derecho? That's interesting, Dale. I don't think it'd be used very often. I mean, there's how many derechos do we deal with a year? In Northwest Indiana, I think we average 1.5 per year. So it's not something that would happen very often. But, to counteract that, Dale, snow squall warnings aren't something that happen very often, and those get issued. So I'm not sure. A lot of people do know the term derecho, which is, it would serve the public, a good thing. And my question would be, would they take that more seriously than a severe thunderstorm warning? They might, because everyone knows derecho means real strong winds over a long distance. Whereas severe thunderstorm warning, I feel like we're kind of numb to that, where if we get a severe thunderstorm warning, you're like, we're fine. It's not a tornado warning. Whereas severe thunderstorm warnings can cause just as much damage. So that's interesting. And Dale, my next meeting with weather services, I don't mind asking that question, if that's something they consider. So great comment there. I do appreciate that. Let's see. Yes, Angie, go to bed. Yeah, you'll be fine. You will. Just, Angie, have a way. Make sure you're plugged into weather warnings. There are nights that we need to be weather aware, all right? And you need to have weather in the back of your mind. And you need to have a way to get alerts on your device, okay? And this is one of those nights. That's it, all right? We should be okay. All right, let's see. Nick, yeah, it's going to be rainy tomorrow. That second wave's going to come up through Indy tomorrow. So it's going to be real windy in Indy tomorrow. My good buddy, I worked with him for about a year and a half. Matt Standrich is a really great meteorologist, a good social follow down there as well in Indianapolis. And he made names for all the Indiana cities, not all of them, but a lot of them based on the wind. It was cute. So he did Windy Indy. He did some other funny ones. But anyway, yeah, so it does look rainy tomorrow. It won't be, so the line goes through, they'll dry out. The morning will likely be fine. And then a batch of rain off of that severe weather down in Tennessee and Mississippi, a batch of heavy rain and even some rumbles will be moving north late morning, especially in the midday and afternoon. It should move in. So kind of rainy down there. Yeah, David, go ahead, go to bed tonight. Yeah, get some sleep there, buddy. You'll be good. Yeah, Matthew agrees. Great question, Dale. I agree, Dale. That was a good question. JP, so with non-thunderstorms over the next couple hours, these winds are going to pick up. I've got winds on the order of 40 to 50 in the next hour or two. They'll start to pick up in advance of this line. We're seeing observations right now that there are some strong winds out in advance of this line. Again, that moves in next hour or two. Then we get the line of storms. I could see winds on the order 60 to 70 within this line where the strongest thunderstorms are. And then that moves through, right? That would be enough. And then that moves through. It'll still be windy tonight. And then tomorrow morning, the winds really ramp up into the midday hours. We could have gusts 55 to 65 tomorrow with some of the stronger gusts. It'll be real gusty tomorrow where it's not too bad. And then whoosh, and then I'm worried about power outages tomorrow just from the non-thunderstorm winds. So there's that. I mean, so take your pick. Next couple hours, we'll have strong winds. Thunderstorms move through, strong wind potential. Doesn't mean we all see it with those. It doesn't mean everyone gets a severe thunderstorm warning. I'm going to make that clear. And then tomorrow, everyone sees strong winds on non-thunderstorms, which is just kind of interesting how this works. Like lots of wind coming our way. Joseph, can you tell my wife, Adrian, to go to bed, please? Adrian, go to bed. All right? You can do it. Listen, I know we like to track these things. Just have the phone next to you and keep the volume up so you get a warning. All right. If not, some of us are going to go through tonight and not have a warning at all, and that's going to be great. We're going to wake up tomorrow and say, "Oh, what happened last night?" There's going to be like a stick down in your yard. That's it. Okay. But that potential's there, and that's all. That's the only reason why I get on here and do these broadcasts is because we talk potential. What can the atmosphere do tonight? All right. Versus what it's going to do, because we don't know what it's going to do. We're predicting the future, all right? Same thing as sports, and I always say that. It's the same thing as predicting a sports score. You know the potential of each team, you know all the ingredients, you know all the players and how they performed in the past and all that, and you try to predict an outcome. That's what weather is, all right? We've got all the ingredients, we've got the models or the people that study it left and right. These are computers in that case. We've got all that, but we don't know what's going to actually happen tonight. I don't know where exactly the severe thunderstorm warnings are going to be or anything like that. So let's just plan for the fact that the potential's there for something, so let's plan for it. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, though, okay? And hopefully it doesn't happen in your yard, all right? I'd rather you not, have to clean up tomorrow morning from all this stuff. Readmo on our YouTube channel says, we lost power for a moment today due to the wind. It'll be interesting tomorrow. Yeah, Readmo, I agree. I feel like we're going to have power outages tomorrow just from the wind because it does look stronger tomorrow than it was today. All right. Kate, you're welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight. I appreciate that. Say hi to Ryan. All right, guys, I'm going to let you go tonight. Again, we'll get through this. I appreciate you guys taking time out of your Friday to join me for this. I hope you got something out of this, as always. We'll do our next Regional Weather live broadcast on Sunday night, as we always do. Don't forget our forecasts are on all day long, XRock 103.9, Indiana 105.5, and Z107.1. And also regionweather.com, we have the daily emails. You sign up on the right-hand side. It's a daily typed-up email from a person, a human, not a weather app for Northwest Indiana. You get those typically Monday through Friday, sometimes on Saturday. It'll be in your inbox with specific forecasts for you. Again, regionweather.com. And it's for you. It's not for me. I don't get anything out of it if you sign up. But I'll tell you, it's for you, and I do enjoy talking to you guys via email in the morning as well. So there's that, okay? All right, guys, you're welcome. Stay safe tonight. Again, I've been up since 2 a.m. doing the morning show this morning, so I am going to get some sleep. I would be no good doing severe weather coverage at 2 a.m., 24 hours after not getting sleep. So that's what we've got tonight. Again, keep an eye on it. Make sure you have a way to get warnings tonight. And stay safe, and we'll wake up tomorrow morning and hopefully not much has happened, but it will be windy tomorrow. Okay? All right, you're welcome, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you for your kind words, too. All right, take it easy.